This week's episode of The Catch-Up is sponsored by Foster's at the Fair. If you're planning to visit the Dutchess County Fair later this month, you should also plan on visiting Foster's at the Fair. Foster's is a great place to cool off and enjoy a full-service bar and indoor dining. You can also visit their beer tent with live music every night. Foster's is open every day during the fair until 10 p.m. Be sure to stop by and say hi to the Foster's crew. From the Daily Catch, this is The Catch-Up, and I'm Daily Catch editor Emily Sachar. Kratom is a plant native to Southeast Asia that's sold legally in powders, capsules, drinks, and gummies at gas stations and smoke shops across New York, including here in Red Hook. Some people use it to relieve pain, ease anxiety, or reduce dependence on opioids. Others warn that it can be addictive and potentially dangerous, especially more potent products derived from kratom, such as 7-OH. The issue has taken on new urgency locally after a Red Hook woman, Susan Rohrmeier, lost her nephew, Nick Scribner, to a kratom overdose in November 2024 after a decade-long addiction. Now, with new state restrictions, a proposed countywide ban, and debate over whether villages can prohibit its sale, questions about how or whether to regulate this drug are taking center stage. Today, we are so fortunate. We welcome onto the show Susan and Daily Catch reporter Athan Yanos, who understands the legal landscape around this potent substance. It's the week of August 3rd, 2026. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Emily.
First, Susan, can you please tell us about your nephew?
Yes. So Nicholas was a delightful little boy. He was redheaded. He had hazel eyes, and he was the third in his family. He had a sister, brother, and he was the third baby. And he was a busy boy. He had a lot of energy from the time he was little. He loved to do things. Anything that was going on, any game, he would join in. And when we had to say goodbye to him, my older son said that throughout their years and years together playing, if you wanted to do something, you wanted to go take a swim, grab a boat, go roast marshmallows, he was always the one who would say, yes, I'm going. Count on me. He would always get up and go.
So beyond that, of course, you're talking about now his childhood. He died as a younger man. What were the years after his childhood like? What was he like into his teens and his 20s?
He was a student at Hudson Valley Community College. He had worked in the field of HVAC, and he was in his 20s working for the Saratoga County Village Department. And he was really on track for doing something he enjoyed doing, working with a team he liked. He had just bought a new car. He was saving money. He had an apartment in Saratoga County. Things were coming together for him. And he was in touch with all of us, busy, but he was in touch.
Mm-hmm.
He was not on his own. He was socially in touch with all of us.
And where was he living at the time?
He lived in Boston Spa, and he was in a small house that was on the property that his brother owned, the main house in Boston Spa, and they saw each other all the time.
And Susan, tell us what happened to him involving kratom, and when?
Okay.
And when?
Okay, so Nicholas had sleep issues from a young child. He would have trouble going to sleep. School was always too early for him. He would be staying up late. He would be constantly fighting exhaustion. And when he was a teenager, he visited his primary care and was given a sleeping pill prescription to help. And at that same time, a friend of his said, why don't you try this herbal supplement instead? It will help you. And so he opted to do that when he was 17, and it had immediate benefits for him. He felt like he could sleep. He felt like his anxiety was under control. And when he told us about it, we all thought that this was going to be something that would help him and add to his better rest. And we thought that it was comparable to taking ginger or taking echinacea or turmeric. We thought it was an herbal supplement that would help him.
And you say initially it did. Initially it
Did.
So
It did.
take us along the path of what happened.
So he, within the year of starting Kratom, was needing more and more in dosage. And he had been using it in powder form, which you can add to a drink, or which you can, sprinkle over anything you're eating. You could mix it into yogurt. And he was using it as an additive in that way until he started getting stronger and stronger cravings. And by the time he was in his 20s, he admitted that he could not go 5 hours without having a redose. And so at that point, we did not know, but he was buying the powder and he was making capsules, and he had that in his apartment.
I see. And Susan, I don't know much about this drug. What was the effect that it was having, and why did he need more of it? Was it calming him down, or was it upping him, or some mix of the two?
It is sold in stores as being a stimulant, as being something that would be like drinking Red Bull, something that would keep you awake and also make you less anxious. But in large quantities, it will bring you down, it will calm you, but then you will start needing more to stay calm. And so we don't know what volume he was taking when he was going to bed at night, but he was taking in excess of what he started out doing.
Wow. And did he confide the depth of his dependency to you and to his family?
He was talking to his brother. He was talking to his mother and father. But by the end of his 20s, he had become more and more secretive about it. He knew that it was demanding too much of his energy to keep making the pills, taking the pills. The withdrawal symptoms after 5 hours were intense. He would feel sick to his stomach. He would feel achy, and he would go and have to keep taking it. And at that point, it was not known to us. And when he was asked whether he was still on it, he tried to not answer the question.
So you think he was hiding a lot of what was going on out of what, embarrassment, fear?
Yes, both.
Both. Okay. So it sounds like from what you're saying, it had kind of both a stimulating effect and a relaxing effect.
It has both.
It has both. Okay.
Yeah.
And was he able during this period, Susan, to hold on to a job, hold on to the work he was doing in HVAC, or did he start to deteriorate?
He was very functional. He was showing up to work. He was doing the job. He was staying motivated. He really liked his job. And the difference for us was that he was getting slimmer and slimmer. He was losing weight, and he was nauseous from it.
And did you or anyone close to him jump in at this point and say, we need you to detox? Like, this is bad. This is scary.
His mother did. His mother asked him, please, please, please get your blood tested and let's see what we're dealing with. So he went in on Saturday, November 23rd, for a lab visit. And on the form, he listed Kratom on the intake form as being something that he was using. And his lab results came in after his death, and he was in perfectly good shape. They don't pick up Kratom on a blood test.
Oh, how interesting. So you said he went in and then he died very soon thereafter, correct?
Yes. He went to a friend's house. He watched a movie. They had dinner. He went home late. He took the Kratom for sleeping, probably in a very high volume, and fell asleep so deeply, which is a side effect, and then was nauseous. And he died of asphyxiation. When his brother found him hours and hours later, his cat was sitting on him. And
Is that essentially what happened? He died like choking on his own vomit?
yes, without being able to rouse. Yes.
Wow. So when you heard that this had happened, what was your reaction?
I I think we're all still in shock. We can't believe he's not here. We just can't believe it because there were so many if onlys. If someone had been with him, if he had been sleeping on his side, if the cat had been able to, there are so many things we hoped wouldn't have combined. If he had
Mhm.
taken a lesser dosage and could have woken up, he could have gotten up and gotten himself taken care of.
Yeah. That must just feel so vulnerable and scary and sad.
It is.
Where was he getting the kratom from, Susan?
He was buying it online, but I believe he started out buying it from local gas stations.
Hmm.
They're selling it in very attractive labeling. It looks like pop, and it looks like snack food. And it's at the point at the register where you would be making a fast purchase. You would grab it and try it.
So you, I know, live here in Red Hook in northern Dutchess County, Red Hook, Rhinebeck area. What prompted you to take the death of your nephew and turn it into more of a drive for change?
My sister, Carrie Scribner, is the force behind all of this. She's a journalist and a novelist, and she went immediately onto social media, and she was able to get through her contacts with the news departments up in Albany, Capital District. She was able to get through to the governor, and Governor Hochul in December 2025 passed two bills that are helpful. It includes a warning label for any kratom product, and it includes the inability to sell to anyone under 21.
Of course, that would not really have helped in your nephew's case, right?
No, not unless he was buying it at age 17 and it had already been over 21.
Right.
Yeah, but when he was buying it at 17 and when he was buying it when he was 27, there were no labels and there were no limitations to sales.
Hmm. And what are some of the things now that you have been working on, especially those things you've been doing in the Red Hook area and the Rhinebeck area?
I would say that telling everyone I know and handing out the brochures have been my main related activity. My sister wrote the trifold, and it was embraced by United Way, who distributes it for us across the state.
Hmm.
And we'd like to keep that going. People don't even know that kratom's in their town. They don't know anything about it.
Yeah. I know Nassau County has prohibited it, I believe,
Yes.
completely sale to anyone of any age, and I believe so has the entire state of Connecticut.
Yes,
So this can be done, right? This can be done.
it can be done.
Susan, do you have any sense that there are people for whom this drug is actually useful, just as it was initially for your nephew, or do you think it always leads to this spiraling addiction?
I do not have the expertise to answer the question about addiction. I'm not sure if we all come with the ability to stop. I know that most of the people my sister has met in the course of this journey have said that it lured their children in until they died.
Hmm.
And I don't know if there are people who are strong enough to quit.
Hmm.
Sometimes you need help. And there's not enough known about kratom in the long term because they do know how to detox heroin, alcohol. Kratom is a new entry. We don't know what the best way is. And the detox they describe as being as bad as withdrawal from heroin.
It's just incredible. Susan, what successes have you had as you've gone about? I know in Red Hook there was, if there was not, tell me, a gas station that was selling and maybe continues to sell kratom, but was also advertising it. Tell us a little about that situation.
The Sunoco right next to the post office had a huge banner, as big as a half a pane of glass in their window. And I went in and talked to the owner and said that I would really ask him, please take down that advertisement. And he said he would not do it. And then I came back with the first newspaper article that Carrie had written, and I brought that in and left it. And he said, until they tell me, I will not do it. So I need to express gratitude to Francis Uku, who put it on the agenda for the town board and
The village board.
village
Village board. Mhm.
and went into the Sunoco and asked him to take it down. And Athan also made a venture into that location. And by Saturday, the owner had taken it down. I
Mhm.
presume he's still selling. He's actually not imposed on by the law until December of this year.
Mhm.
But, if anyone felt empathic and, a mission to stop this from going further, they would stop selling it.
So you're saying that he can sell it to people under 21 until December of this year?
He can.
Yeah. And then he'll still be able to sell it to people over 21 unless there's a change in the law, right?
I believe the law will cover him that he will not be able to sell it under 21.
Under
And
21. But I'm saying over 21, people will still be able to purchase
They
it.
will. They
Yeah.
will. Yep.
So what is next for you? What other things would you like to see done? Do you have any goals in our communities in Red Hook and Rhinebeck?
I think that educating and exposing this for the extremely fatal addiction that it is will help with people steering clear of it, and it will help to protect our children. I will do whatever my sister needs. She will go to places that are opening up Kratom stores. She will go and she will pick it. She has people that will come with her and pick it and have them stop selling it.
Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about your experience, your family's experience with this substance?
That I hope no one ever has to go through this. I hope that they have clear sailing and good health in their family and in their children, because this really surprised us. We just feel so unfortunate that we didn't get to him. We didn't know. And we think that had he had the chance to detox, that would have been one of probably the most hellish times in his life, but we'd still have him.
Yeah. I appreciate so much your courage in coming on the show and your courage in fighting for something that you believe in.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Athan, welcome back to the Catch Up.
Thank you, Emily, for having me once again.
I want to ask you, Athan, a few of the same questions I asked Susan because you bring a reporter's lens to the story. So let's start with, Athan, what exactly is Kratom and why has it become so popular?
Yeah, so Kratom is a tropical tree, part of the Mitragina speciosa, which is part of the coffee family, and it's a plant native to Southeast Asia, which contains multiple compounds, one of which is the 7, which referred to as 7-OH, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But these compounds act upon the same receptors in the brain as opioid drugs. And many people have used it in Southeast Asia for a number of years for a variety of purposes, including treating fevers or diarrheas. But in the US, it has kind of become most commonly used as a way for people to get off opioids. Now, to the question of why it has become so popular, it's really difficult to say for sure. And one of the things that I've found by talking to people during my reporting is that there's actually very little public knowledge of what exactly Kratom is and what are its side effects. And it's been branded as kind of this all-natural stimulant that can help people in a variety of ways. And I think because of that all natural branding and it's people's desire not to use something synthetic or not to become overly medicated, they see this as a healthy alternative that they can take to solve some of their problems.
And Athan, is that because it has been marketed this way, or has it just gotten a street cred reputation for having this kind of natural, almost sounds like organic compound?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of both. Certainly, if you go into stores that sell it, the packaging just for pure kratom makes it look like it's this it's innocent plant healthy substance. Now, whether or not it's also gotten kind of uh, word of mouth or street cred, so to speak, that it's this healthy alternative or this healthy substance that can cure various problems people have. It's tough for me to say because I'm not super immersed in that world, but that's probably some of it as well.
Okay. So, Athan, your reporting draws this distinction, you just alluded to it, between kratom and a more potent, I think, derivative is the word we've used, called 7-OH. Tell us what the difference is and why the distinction matters. And I'd like you also to explain whether 7-OH is synthetic, sort of manufactured with non-natural ingredients, or whether it's just a more potent natural derivative of kratom itself.
Yeah, so 7-OH, as I mentioned, is a compound found in kratom, but in very small amounts. It makes up about 2% or less than 2% of its alkaloid content and 0.5% of its weight. What's referred to as 7-OH, on the other hand, is a synthetic compound. It is made up of almost entirely the 7-OH compound and is therefore much more addictive and much more potent than regular kratom. Dr. Mark Swager, who I spoke to for the article, compared it to the difference between beer and whiskey, beer being kratom and whiskey being 7-OH. But it's even greater of a difference than that because when you buy something that's called 7-OH, you're getting almost entirely that compound. Whereas if you purchase kratom and consume kratom, you're getting only about 2% of that compound. And a key difference with kratom and 7-OH is that kratom does not cause significant respiratory depression like most opioids do, whereas 7-OH, because it is that much stronger and that much more concentrated, it actually does cause respiratory depression, which is a significant cause of death for those that are addicted to opioids. So it is not only more addictive, but it is also much more dangerous.
And just to say something that I'm sure is obvious to many, but we can just restate it. These substances are not regulated by the FDA. Is that correct? And
that's correct.
As a result, there are no labeling standards, right? There's no way to know how potent, or correct me if I'm wrong, how potent various street sales or street products as they're packaged up actually are.
I believe that's correct. One point to add to that, New York State did impose labeling restrictions for kratom in December of last year that required sellers in New York State to include a list of ingredients and a list of potential side effects for kratom. So there has been legislation to change that.
Okay, thank you. And Athan, which substance was Nick, Susan Rohrmeier's nephew, using to the best of your knowledge, to the best of their knowledge?
Kratom, they believe, and that's to the best of my knowledge, as you said, kratom is what he was using.
Okay, not the 7-OH product. Okay. And Athan, what is being sold in Red Hook at local gas stations and stores that are selling Kratom, which of the products are they selling?
They're selling both. They're selling both. The two stores in particular that we noted and have made it very clear that they sell Kratom is the Sunoco gas station and Red Hook Exotics. And they have both the powdered Kratom plant and also the synthetic.
Okay, good. One of the experts you interviewed, Athan, said that Kratom can actually reduce overdose risk for people trying to get off opioids, as you just alluded to. At the same time, others argue that it's addictive and dangerous. So how do these two realities coexist?
That's a difficult question to answer, and it likely speaks to the complex reality that we live in, where two things can simultaneously be true. So for some people, Kratom may improve their lives and help them deal with the very serious risks of opioid addictions. For others, it can be the cause of great harm to their lives. It's not the same substance and it's not the same thing, but I know many people, as I'm sure many of you listening do, who have been greatly harmed by alcohol, and also people who've never had an issue with alcohol and use it for social gatherings in a way that maybe they believe improves their lives. So it comes down to both how it's used or misused and people's individuals' reactions to it. What Sachar argued is that there's nothing inherent in Kratom that is deadly, or that there haven't been studies yet to show that Kratom is inherently deadly. That doesn't mean, he said, that it couldn't have contributed to a death, or that it couldn't have had a reaction with another substance to cause a death, or somebody couldn't have had a pre-existing condition, and that combined with Kratom caused their death. The example he gave was, if someone dies 5 minutes after eating a piece of toast, and there's no obvious factors that contributed to his death, does it mean that the toast killed him and that toast can cause death? And, his response was, it's very hard to know. And it's certainly not certain that the toast has anything that can be fatal. I also just want to say that this is Sachgar's view as somebody who studies Kratom for a living and seems to believe that it has significant positive effects. Other people certainly have different opinions about Kratom's potential to severely harm its users. And the governor, when she signed two pieces of legislation that imposed restrictions on the sale of Kratom in December, noted that 100 people died from Kratom in New York in 2025, which is obviously a significant number, but it's also not as significant as the opioid deaths in New York, which from my research today is about 4,000 people annually. But again, 100 people dying from Kratom is still a significant number. So
good.
That comes back to my initial point, which is two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. So that leads to a really good transition for us. Let's talk about what the law statewide currently allows. And then I'd like you to talk about, you're alluding to legislation that was recently passed, what that legislation will change. So let's take the current thing right now. Are there any restrictions on Kratom or 7-OH?
Yes, there are some restrictions. So, for example, New York has prohibited the sale of Kratom to minors, and as I mentioned, has imposed strict labeling requirements that include information about the ingredients of Kratom and its side effects. So that's what is currently in place.
That's in place, because then there's some new legislation that is not yet in place at the state level. Is that correct?
That's correct. And to that point, there was a bill that passed both legislatures in Albany and is awaiting signature from the governor, and that would ban 7-OH statewide. Not Kratom, but would ban 7-OH.
So currently we have labeling restrictions, and we have restrictions on the sale to minors, meaning under 21.
Yes.
or under 18?
I believe it was initially under 21 and then it was amended to be under 18.
Okay. And then there is proposed legislation, but not yet in place, to ban 7-OH. So there's no plan yet at the state level to ban Kratom itself. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, Dutchess County Executive Sue Serino just last week proposed a countywide ban on the sale of Kratom. And we know that Nassau County on Long Island has done the same thing. And I believe so has the whole state of Connecticut. So this is possible to do this, right? And then there's another plan that you recently learned about, Athan, that we actually haven't reported about yet at the county level to ban 7-OH. Can you walk us through those proposals?
Yes. So I'll start with the most recent one. So several Dutchess County Democrats have introduced a introduced a bill to ban 7-OH across the county. There will be a committee hearing on that bill today, August 6th. And if it passes, it will go for a vote by the full legislature on Monday, August 10th. As you noted, the county exec, Sue Serino, also proposed a full ban on Kratom and Kratom-related substances, so that would include 7-OH. And that's stricter than the Democrats' bill. And that will also go for consideration on Monday before the full legislature. And it is possible to ban Kratom outright. You mentioned Connecticut, but several states have also imposed bans on Kratom writ large. So that's certainly a possibility.
And then, Athan, there has also been discussion, fill me in if I'm wrong here, in Red Hook about a local ban and some confusion in the air about whether a village or a town can do something more restrictive than the county or the state. So tell us about that. Where are we here locally?
Yeah, so certainly it's been a point of discussion, and I think we have Susan to thank for it being part of the discussion in our local government. But so she approached various village officials, asking them to do something about the sale of Kratom or 7-OH in the village. And trustee Francis Uku took it upon her initiative to introduce an item on the village board's agenda a couple weeks ago, kind of not a resolution, but saying, let's talk about moving toward a ban on Kratom or 7-OH in the village. The Mayor Karen Smythe, taking the advice of the village's attorney, said the village can't impose a ban on Kratom, can't impose a village-wide ban on Kratom or 7-OH. And so that was kind of the end of the discussion for a while. And that, as I said, came from the village's attorney, Kyle Barnett, who essentially said that an outright ban could expose the village to a preemptive challenge if it were to pass a law that was more restrictive than the state law. Now, that legal opinion was, I guess I could say, disputed by Barbara Van Epps, who's the executive director of the New York Conference of Mayors, who said that the state's current Kratom laws do not prevent local governments from banning Kratom, and that there's no evidence that New York State intends to preempt municipalities from regulating the substance. So it seems like from her perspective, the village could impose a ban on Kratom or 7-OH if they wanted to. So we will see what the village trustees and the village mayor and the village deputy mayor decide to do at their next board meeting on the 10th of August. But right now, there's no legislation being considered to take action in the village.
Okay. And Athan, we don't know of any evidence of deaths from Kratom purchased at local outlets, do we?
No, No, not in Red Hook, not in the village of Red Hook.
Okay. And right now in the village of Red Hook, which stores or outlets or gas stations are selling Kratom to the best of your knowledge?
The best of my knowledge, as I said earlier, it's the Sunoco gas station, and it is Red Hook Exotics.
And
Those
where
are
is
the
Red
two.
Hook Exotics? You told us where the Sunoco is. Where is the exotic store?
The Exotics is actually directly across the street from Village Hall.
And what about in Rhinebeck or Clinton? Do we know?
That is a good question. Our story and my reporting focused on Red Hook, so I actually don't know off the top of my head if any stores in Rhinebeck or in Clinton sell it. I will, as soon as we finish this episode, I will do that research, and
All around.
we
Yeah.
have future stories coming about this substance because there's a lot of noise being made at the county level and the state level about it. So for listeners, stay tuned. I will get that information, and it will be in the next story.
And I think another thing we need to run down, it's fun to do our planning while our listeners are hearing plan our coverage. We need to understand why stores want to sell this stuff. It's controversial. It could cause problems. It must be extraordinarily profitable to sell it.
Right. From the discussions that I've had with the owners who sell it, which have been kind of court because they're not, as you can imagine, not super eager to talk about it. Um, they've said that it is popular and people do come in and buy it. Um, so that is probably a large reason why they continue to sell it because it's legal right now and it's, as you said, it's profitable.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much, Athan, for being on the show today. Is there anything else about this that we need to mention?
No, I think just reader or listeners and readers should be paying attention to the two pieces of legislation at the county level and the piece of legislation at the state level, because there's more to come on the story.
And we will be there every step of the way, as we always are. Well, thank you again to our sponsor this month, Foster's at the Fair. If you're planning to visit the Dutchess County Fair, you should also plan on visiting Foster's at the Fair, where you can cool off and enjoy a full-service bar, indoor dining, and a beer tent with live music nightly. Foster's is open every day during the fair until 10 p.m. And I can tell you, having been over there last year, it's a really lovely spot to relax. They pick the whole thing up from Foster's in the village of Rhinebeck, and they move their operation and all their amazing personnel out to the fairgrounds. It's just special place. And that concludes the catch up for today. Thanks to Matty Rosenberg, Jen Hammoud, and Esther Martell at our partner Radio Free Rhinecilff for their help in producing this episode. We'll see you next time.